Welcome back to Ask the Attorney. We're here with Kevin Kennedy from the Kennedy Law Firm in Clarksville. And people have asked before, how do we contact Kevin? And we will definitely put his information on the screen. Of course, you can go to his website as well to contact him and put him on your speed dial.
Yeah, put him on the speed dial. That's true.
All right. We're going to take some more calls here and keep calling that number, 737 plus 737-7587. We've got Carla here. Hi, Carla.
Hello, how are you all?
Great,
Good.
Carla, go ahead.
And Carla, before you ask your question, just turn down the volume on your TV set. It sounds like it's going to be a little hard to hear you.
Okay. Is that better?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I was calling to find out if someone has a living estate, can that be revoked?
Okay. Well, really what you're talking about...
Living trust, maybe?
Yeah, it's a living trust, and then, we have what's known as a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust. So that is one of the big hello come-ins everywhere right now, because people say, I want to avoid probate, and I understand if I get this living trust, I won't ever have to go through probate. Well, again, there's companies that sell these things, and here's Kevin Kennedy. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is not. I know there's great opportunities for certain families, but everyone is different. Whether you have your money in real estate or whether you have it in cash or investments. So what I would come back and say to you, we have to look at the document, and quite frankly, lots of wealthy people have revocable and irrevocable trust. Well, why do they do that? And I like to go back and ask the question, why does General Motors and Ford, why are they in a corporation? Because there's always benefits. So what I would say to you is we just need to see the document. What have they signed? Did they put everything in an irrevocable? And that's exactly what it means. You can't revoke it. You'll have to ride that one out. Or a revocable trust. And so irrevocably, even though we could continue to put assets in, but I think the biggest thing, ask lots of questions, understand, go talk to a lawyer, and that's the best answer I can give with you tonight.
All right, we've got Paul here. Hi, Paul.
How you doing tonight?
Great,
Good.
Paul, go ahead.
I have a question about a criminal defense
Okay.
case. I was charged with domestic violence, and I feel like I got the short end of the stick.
Yes, we understand.
And I had a public defender.
Yes.
And they didn't present, or they only spent maybe three minutes with me.
Yes.
And get all the information. And
Paul, what happens to you happens to lots and lots of people. In every county, they're appointing more and more and more public defenders, and then when there's a conflict, they give it to the private bar. Resources become dried up, but and so I have nothing but praise to give the public. I think they're smart. I think they're overworked. So if we're in an hour, 2 hour, or 3 hour session, and you got 100 defendants, where is their job? So I hear you loud and clear, and I understand what you're confronted with. You always want to try to see your lawyer if you can, and if it were left up to me, I always would try to hire my own lawyer so that I can explain more. Yes, we hear your story all the time. And if somebody calls the police and says, there's a problem, Amy and I are arguing, the odds are great someone is going to jail. And so they may catch Amy first, and Amy said, well, Kevin hit me, and I say, no, I didn't. Well, then all they have to do is say, well, she's got a mark on her. You have the right to remain silent, and I'm arrested. I'm taken to jail. They put me in 12 hours. And, of course, they want to hear me make all the statements. And listen to this. The police, much of the time, has an audio recorder that will kick on. So you can say, well, I never told them this. Or, when you're talking to the police, you don't have to say anything. And I always tell you, don't admit anything. So your problem is an everyday problem. Try to get your own lawyer, take advance, take a proactive approach, and know when the police come, they have their own agenda. Their agenda is to prosecute. Your agenda is to stay out of trouble.
All right. We've got Hiram here on one. Hi, Hiram.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a question for the attorney, Mr. Kennedy.
All righty.
Okay, up in Washington, D.C., they had a meeting and it was Senator Robert Portman and Claire McCaskill.
Okay.
It was regarding cable and satellite bills being high.
Right.
They had Xfinity Comcast, they had Time Warner, they had Charter, they had Direct. No, let me take it back. They had Dish, and they had AT&T Universe.
Okay.
And they were talking about bills being high, and I was wanting to know regarding the Nielsen ratings for they took shows off because that helped the customer or that hurt the customer about getting bills lowered for not having shows on that you're paying for that you don't get. And I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, back in the early parts of the 20th century, they came up with anti-Sherman Acts, antitrust, and what they were really dealing with, the federal government tried to break up the monopolies. So, you know, once you get these companies and they have all control, they could set prices, and that is against public policy. Here's the theory in the law. You know, you want to be fair to everyone, and so if you had just a few that set the prices, that is against public policy. So again, that's why we have our senators and our state representatives to question. And yes, the purpose of our representative is try to be fair with everyone and bring the prices down. Bring the prices down. Big business has an agenda to meet their stockholders and to make a profit. The consumer's agenda is to get the whatever consumption product they're selling at the best deal they can get. And so that's why we have our senators, and you should always express your concerns with it, because there's no other way that we can have congressional hearings. We have to do it through our representatives. And if you give them wide open, y'all can just imagine when there's no competition and no laws, what do? Your cable bill goes from $60 a month to $160. And we just saw the big fight over EpiPens.
Yep.
And wow, how can you justify going up 600%? And really, that's against public policy. Children can't fend for themselves. And if you don't get that EpiPen, it will kill you. So, thank you for that question. And that's why we have the check and balances in the executive and the legislative branches of government.
Right, and keep calling that number, 737-plus, 737-7587. We've got Roger
Okay,
tonight.
Raj.
Good evening, Roger.
Good evening.
How can we help you today?
I got a question, Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
My wife and I are getting a divorce, and she's moved out of state. She moved back to Hobart, Indiana.
Okay.
I live here in Madison, and she wants a divorce, but she wants me to pay for it.
Yes. Most women do. Can you get an amen over there for me?
Okay.
All right,
Hello,
go
come
ahead,
in.
Roger.
The problem is I'm on disability. She's on disability. She wants a divorce. I really don't want the divorce, but if she wants it, I'll go ahead and give it to her.
Right.
The issue is, when she went back to Indiana, she took nothing but all her clothes, and she says she's not coming back under no conditions whatsoever.
All right.
So all her stuff is still here in Nashville. Can I legally throw it out or away or what?
Okay, it's a good question.
You're still married right now.
You're still married, and it's considered marital property. She's going to say, well, that's my separate property. So, no, I would not advise to throw it away, because all she'd have to do is go into divorce court and say, I had a Rolex watch and a 7-carat diamond ring, and he threw it all away. And the judge could say, well, is that true? No, I didn't know. Well, the judge is going to have to call one or the other. And then he said, well, okay, as property division, I'm going to order you to pay X amount of dollars. So that is not a good plan. What is a good plan? A good plan is, once you realize that your spouse wants a divorce, get a lawyer. And so many people come and they call me and they say, well, Mr. Kennedy, they got their own lawyer and I didn't want to pay for it. And she told me she got divorced, but I never got a decree. Again, you have to look after your own rights. And the only way you know it's going to be settled is if you do it and you track it, or your lawyer tracks it, and you get a final decree of divorce. And so, no, there's a lot of ifs and there's a lot of questions, but if you're in that status, it's not going to get any better with time, so be proactive.
All right, and keep calling that number, 737-PLUS, 737-7587. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back with Kevin Kennedy after this.